Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Elizabeth Papadopoulos, and I'm the director of the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. It is my absolute joy and honor to be here today to introduce our guest speaker, Joy McCarthy. Joy is an alumni and graduate of IHN. She finished our program in 2009. A certified nutritional practitioner, and she is the founder of Joyous Health, an award-winning blog. She is also the co-founder of Hello Joyous, an organic, plant-forward beauty brand with a clear mission to help people find more joy in their everyday lives. She is the author of 3 best-selling cookbooks, Joyous Health, The Joyous Cookbook, Joyous Detox, and also a World Gourmand Cookbook Award recipient. She hosts the Joyous Health podcast, where she interviews natural health experts from around the world. It's an absolute pleasure to have Joy with us here today to talk about the evolution of her growing and incredibly inspiring enterprise. Let's welcome Joy McCarthy.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. And I'll share my screen. Hi, everyone. As well, put your questions in the chat. We're going to have time for a Q&A at the end. And I look forward to that. So just give me a moment here while I share my screen. So it was kind of fun as I was creating this presentation. I was telling Elizabeth and I was looking back. It's just really cool. It's also, I'm like, wow, I've done a lot of things, but also there's been a lot of years of the evolution of my brand. So, as I go kind of through the timeline and I share these things and you're like, oh, wow, there's been a lot of things on the way. Remember, as Elizabeth mentioned, I graduated in 2009. So it was quite a while ago. How many years is that? I'm not good at math, but it was a while ago. So my hope today is really that I can share with you, help inspire you and empower you to build a thriving career in holistic wellness, because I did, it's still happening, and you can too. So I won't go through my bio here because Elizabeth did that already, but you can connect with me as well after this. You can find me, my personal brand is Joyous Health, and my beauty brand is Hello Joyous _. So you can find me on social media. But here's kind of what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to share with you why content is all about connection and building trust with your audience through sharing. Purpose first, profit follows. The third thing is how to really think like a CEO, but act like a creator. From idea to shelf, launching a product with purpose. So I'm going to share with you products, I should say plural. I'll share with you, some in behind the scenes of Hello Joyous, which is my beauty brand. I'll share the roller coaster of entrepreneurship, because it's a roller coaster, managing, riding the wave, the ups and the downs. But when you're down in the valley, that's when I think the most important thing is just staying level-headed. And also when you're up as well, when things are going amazing and you're doing really well, I always remind myself, okay, stay level-headed, because neither of these things last forever. And it's kind of like the middle ground is where somewhere in the middle I like to be, riding the wave of entrepreneurship. And then finally, I'll finish up with the 3 P's of success. I'm just going to keep my phone handy, not checking any messages. Just want to make sure that I don't go too long. Okay, so let's first talk about the power of content and how this is, this is how, when you graduate IHN and you go out there into the world and you want to be a nutrition coach, you really need to build trust, build credibility, establish yourself as an expert. And one of the ways, and one of the big ways you can do that, is through sharing content. And content really matters, because nowadays, the first thing, if you hear of a new restaurant, or you're going to go see a new chiropractor, or you're going to hire a naturopath or a nutritionist, typically you're going to their Instagram, you're going to social media to check them out. You may not even be going to their website. So creating content is so key because it builds your authority and it builds your trust with your community. It's an opportunity for you to educate and empower your audience. Your content, whether you're sharing it on social or you're sharing your content on your website, is really your voice. That's where your voice, you establish your authority, your expertise in wellness. Your content is your visibility and your credibility. So I like to say that content is king. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I just want to get out there and be nutrition consulting and working one-on-one with people. I can't be bothered to create content, but it really does. Hopefully, I will convince you by the end of this how important that is. So even if social media is not your thing, I do think making sure that you have a professional website set up and you have content that you can share there. What I've always done at Joyous Health is like joyoushealth.com is like the mothership of the content. That's where I create the content and then I share it out, pieces of it, to all the other channels. So there's obviously lots of different types of content you can create, blogs. And by the way, blogs were really popular when I first graduated back in 2009. I feel like they had their heyday back then, but you know what? Long form content is actually coming back. It's, coming full circle. So this is a good thing for those of you who are writers out there. If you enjoy writing, you enjoy longer form content, perhaps that's something you want to start on your website. So there's lots of opportunities: TikTok, podcast, newsletter, YouTube. Don't let this overwhelm you. Know that you can pick and choose. How do you choose? You start where your passion meets your strengths. If you're like, okay, well, I don't have any strengths in any of these areas because I'm really just starting out, just choose one. Maybe you decide that you have a 16-year-old who's a TikTok whiz and they can help you with some informative or recipe creating on TikTok. So just pick one to start out with. And if you're doing a lot of them already, great. So what can you do? You can share recipes, wellness tips, debunk myths, health myths, share personal stories. And people will connect with this because I assume you went to IHN because you're obviously very, very passionate about a holistic wellness and natural health. So I feel like check, done. You've already got the passion part done. Okay, so now don't worry. I'm not gonna take you through every single line item here, but I was just putting this timeline together and I just wanted to show you this because where I am now, yes, I have 3 cookbooks. I have a products-based brand, but it's taken many, many years to get there and a lot of different things and a lot of mistakes along the way. So before we get into any more nitty-gritty, I just wanted to kind of start things off by sharing, my own joyous journey. And the reason I kind of stuck this here in the content section was because I started Joyous Health as just creating content. I, lived in this tiny little apartment in Toronto, and this pink painted tiny little kitchen is where I was creating all my recipes and putting everything online on joyoushealth.com. And because I have a marketing background, I worked in marketing and advertising before I became a nutritionist. I put my marketing hat on when I graduated from IHN in 2009. I was like, okay, well, if I want people to be able to find me and hire me as a nutritionist, then I need to have my marketing hat on and I need to build my brand and create awareness for my brand. And how am I going to do that? Okay, I'm going to start joyoushealth.com and I'm going to start writing content there. So that's basically how I started, was my little blog, Joyous Health, which was a WordPress blog. And I started sharing there. And that was basically where things were born. And actually, I even started when I was still in school, this concept was brewing for Joyous Health. And then a year later, because I graduated late, I think it was the fall of 2009. And what I wanted to do at the time was coaching, corporate wellness, and writing. So those were the 3 things, in the course where you write your business plan. Actually, that course was very helpful because I actually listed out all of the corporate wellness talks that I wanted to do. I think I wrote out 6 of them. And then I went on LinkedIn and then I talked to everyone I knew and I'm like, here are the workshops I can do, hire me, bring me in. So that was in 2010. Then I also realized that I thought, okay, another way to kind of get my brand out there and create awareness and just like help more people is by doing an in-person program. So I launched with a yoga instructor, an in-person yoga nutrition program, and that ran for a couple of years actually. And I won't go through all these things, but you can see throughout the years, as I was building up my brand, building my email list, building my online community, I saw different opportunities to create ebooks and digital programs. And I didn't create any of these things right from the get-go because my mindset was I really need to start creating a community, establishing myself as an authority and with credibility and an expert in wellness before I full on launch something. That was like my mindset. And so that's why it took me a couple years before I launched online programs. I think 2012 was one of my first online programs. Terrible name, by the way, Eat Clean Body Lean. Like I would never, it's funny how times change, but that was in 2012. And then if we fast forward to 2013, when I launched one of my first natural products. And that came about was because people in my community kept asking me, what are the products I use? And I was making there was different products that I would make for myself, I would make for family. And then I was constantly having people from the community say, Joy, I want to buy this. Can you make this for me? And I thought, of all the decisions that I've made up until now, the ones that have been the most successful are when I've listened to what my community wants. So, it was over 10 years ago that we launched our first products. It was very like mom and pop at the time, not as professional as it is now. But that was the time when I also realized that I needed help. I couldn't just do it on my own. So if you look, I graduated in 2009. And then 4 years later was when I realized that I can't manage this all myself. And that's when Walker, my husband, joined me and we still work together. So we clearly still like each other. But that's when I feel like it really just got to like a boiling point where I was like, I can't do all of this myself. And if I try and do all this myself, I'm just going to burn out and I'm not going to get to where I want to get to. So I feel like we can give a little bit of credit to Walker. Just kidding. He's a huge part of the business, but him coming on really allowed me then to do all the things I really enjoyed doing and less of the stuff that I wasn't very good at. So, it was a partnership and now we've grown since then. So I'll go to the next slide. I won't go through all these things because it'll take too long. I've had cookbooks along the way, but I will tell you, I would have never had a cookbook had I not established my blog first. joyoushealth.com, creating content there, and then going and sharing that content on social media was 100% why I ended up getting a book deal, because the publisher reached out to me and they saw me as this already established marketing engine. And they were like, oh, okay, if we want a cookbook to be successful, we want to work with someone who is already establishing themselves. Now, that's not to say if your dream is to have a cookbook and you haven't yet launched you don't yet have an online community, don't worry. This is only my experience and how I did it. You can absolutely write an amazing cookbook and go and look for an agent and then try and find a publisher. I know people who have done that and it's entirely possible. We can talk more about that if anyone has any questions. So I'm going to just skip through the rest of this and jump into talking about our next section. But I can circle back to that if we have extra time. It's just, I want to make sure that I talk about everything. So purpose first, profit follows. I think an easy mistake we can get into as an entrepreneur, because that's what we all are when we graduate, is, oh my gosh, I need to make money. I need to make money first and foremost. I need to pay my bills. I was there too. I was single when I graduated IHN. I had bills to pay. I had to pay my rent. I had to buy groceries. But you have to set that part aside and remember, always come back to your purpose and your why. Why are you doing this? And your passion, and the money will follow. So I want to first talk about different monetization pathways for your business, because I want you to know that being a nutritionist, and doing one-on-ones is not the only way to make money. And so when I graduated, right away, I was like, I am going to diversify my business because this is the only thing I'm doing. Nutrition is my thing. I'm not going to go back to what I was doing before in my corporate 9 to 5. I was also doing some personal training on the side. I wanted to stop doing that. So I was very motivated. So I was like, I'm going to do everything I can and have various revenue streams of revenue. So I just wanted to go over all of the opportunities. And by the way, there's so many more. It's just we only have so much time. But speaking, nutrition, coaching, consulting, which I'm sure most of you know about, brand partnerships, there's a really big opportunity there. And no, you do not have to be a sellout. There are many. I'll show you some of the brands that I've worked with. And I mentioned that I showed them on my timeline, but I can come back to that. But there are some great brands that you can work with, having digital products, ebooks, and courses. The landscape of courses changed a lot over the years with so much free information online. But that doesn't mean you can't have a successful digital program or digital product like an ebook. Physical products like Hello Joyous. I look at myself as essentially having two brands. I have a personal brand, Joyous Health, and then I have a product-based brand, Hello Joyous. And then, of course, affiliate marketing. If you're finding it difficult because you just started out and you're finding it difficult to establish brand partnerships. So say, for example, you really want to work with this company who makes the best chia seeds. You love their chia seeds. You want them to pay you to create recipe, content, and all that kind of stuff. But they're like, not yet. You don't have a big enough community. Then affiliate marketing is a great opportunity. And so I would recommend looking into that. So, look at all the different ways that you can monetize. I'm just going to go into a few of them a little deeper, things that I've done over the years. So these are a couple of examples of brand partnerships that I've had that have been very successful. The one on the far right where you see Plant Power, that's one brand that I work with for almost 10 years, Genuine Health. And I would do recipe development for them. I would go into health food stores and do presentations sponsored by them. And that was a really good relationship. And what I would say is when you're looking at what potential brand partnerships there could be for you, you really want to look at partnerships for the long term. It's so easy. I get this all the time. I get so many random DMs from companies. Oh, we'll pay you this to promote this. Or you can get onto these different platforms, these different influencer platforms. It's like pick and choose. What are you available for? You can get paid, $200 for this or, $850 for that. And it's so like piecemeal. And I really don't think that's a great way to build your brand and also establish credibility with your audience by doing all of these one-offs. So if you're looking, if you're someone who's already started to establish your community on social media and you're like, okay, I really want to think about brand partnerships, I would think fewer and longer term. So that's what I've always done as a nutritionist. As I said, I worked with Genuine Health for almost 10 years. I've worked with Manitoba Harvest on and off for 10 years, but consistently for the last 3. St. Francis Herb Farm. And whenever you're evaluating these different brands, I feel like this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. You just always want to make sure that, is this a brand that you can stand behind? Do your research. Is it a brand that you would actually use? Do you have kids? Is this a brand you would feed your kids? So when you're promoting a brand like this that you love, then it just comes across as being so authentic because it's something you would already use anyways. So I over the years, over the last 16 years as a nutritionist, I've only ever worked with brands that I really love. I love their products. I love their philosophy. And so I just wanted to share that with you, that I think it's just really important to do your research, and many of these brands have affiliate programs as well. Then when it comes to digital products, as I mentioned earlier, with digital programs, I think there's a huge opportunity because then you're not just looking at consulting one-on-one, right? How many people are there on planet Earth? Over 7 billion people on planet Earth. There's a huge opportunity of people to sell to, whatever your unique offering is, to sell to those people online. So I have done many different digital programs over the years. Some of them have been more successful than others. The one thing I'll tell you, and I could do another talk actually, putting this out there, Elizabeth and Julia, I could do another talk where I just talk about like how to create a good digital program. But the ones that always did the best were the ones that I took months creating and months pouring into promotion and taking a lot of time and figuring out a timeline of how to announce it, how to sell it, all like how to price it, when to talk about it, when to take a break. So there's a lot of pieces to put together when it comes to doing an online program, whether it's just an ebook or whether it's a digital program. Out of all of these, 21 Days to Joyous Health was the most successful online program I've ever ran. And I think that's in part because it was, let's call it an integrated program, because it had different aspects of it. It had a podcast aspect, which was 21 days of meditations. It had a 21-day meal plan. And then throughout the 21 days, I think once or twice a week, I ran this one for about 3 or 4 years. Once or twice a week, I would go online and do a Zoom call with everyone. So it had a few different touch points for people to learn, to engage, and to also, I think this was also really successful because it gave people a sense of community with each other. So, sharing their struggles with eating healthier. And it was never like this program. People always say like, oh, Joy, you've never had like a really tight niche. I mean, I really feel like my thing is definitely like natural beauty and skin health and all that type of thing. But then when I was doing that, it was more just about helping people feel better, balance their blood sugar, just really feeling more joyous. And that's exactly what I was essentially selling to people. You can feel more joyous by, also part of the program was like getting outside for a walk for 21 days. Anyways, that was a really great program. And it was successful not only because we had a lot of people go through that program, but more importantly, that people were just feeling so great. And that actually launched during the pandemic. That launched in 2020. So it was a funny time. Another way to monetize your business, moving on from digital products, is by having physical products. If you had asked me when I graduated IHN, if I thought I was going to grow a beauty brand, Hello Joyous, I would have never in a million years thought that this would happen. But when I look back over the years, one of my strategies has always been just listen to what people want and what you're passionate about and marry those two together. And you're not going to have automatic success, but you will have success. So what your community wants, does it meet up with your passion? Bring those things two together. Fireworks, always. Passion, what the community wants. You can't do everything your community wants, obviously. But when you can bring those two together, it's truly magic. And I've always been into natural beauty. I've always been into skincare. As you saw 12 years ago, I was making my own products and people were always asking me. And now fast forward, most 90% of my day is working on Hello Joyous. And I still have my personal brand, Joyous Health, but products, I'd love to hear when we get to the Q&A if anyone is thinking about a product-based business, and that's something we can talk more about. Staying authentic is so key. So only share what aligns with your values. Your audience will feel it. I know this kind of bears repeating. Your audience will feel if it's forced. Trust is built with consistency and truth. So just always, when it comes to, creating your content, whatever you create, just always stay authentic. And I see this with a good example of not being authentic is when you see people jump from one multi-level marketing product to the next, to the next, to the next. It's just like people are jumping from trend to trend. And I know when people reach out to me on LinkedIn or IG trying to sell me onto this, wanting me to share with my community, it feels just very forced and it doesn't feel authentic. So there's nothing wrong with I love Juice Plus, by the way. There's nothing wrong with having a multi-level marketed product. just instead of chasing the profit, you really want to look for something that really aligns with your values, because when you talk about it, it's not going to feel forced, and your audience is going to be sold into what you're selling. So, when you're trying to figure out how to monetize something, you want to come up with a framework that works. Okay, so what is your purpose and your passion? What is the problem that you're solving? Maybe you're a nutritionist that wants to focus on hormonal, or maybe you want to focus on PCOS, okay? So here's the problem. The problem is that X number of people are suffering from PCOS. Maybe you healed yourself from PCOS, so you feel very passionate about it, and you feel like this growing purpose inside you, and you're like, I need to help more people. So you have a problem you can solve. Then, okay, so now you've got your purpose, your passion, you have this problem that you're going to solve, because a lot of people have this problem. Now, what is the product or service that you can develop? And then you use the content to nurture what it is that you're selling, not just sell it. So here is an example. This is just a little snapshot from Hello Joyous. We have a really great blog where we use all of the content on the blog, and we use 99.9% of the content on our socials is all about nurturing the audience and selling it. Yes, you can have hard sells sometimes. Like if you go to our blog post, you'll see what we're recommending for healthy scalp. I'm not just talking about nutrients and foods, but also I'm going to talk about our dry shampoo, and I'm going to talk about our hair serum we just launched. But the key is really to create educational content to really nurture, not just sell. Okay, so number 3 is to really think like a CEO, but act like a creator. And so some key growth strategies: show up consistently, whether you're creating content for your blog, your website, or you're creating content for IG, and you really want it, you have this great product idea, but you're so held back, you feel so paralyzed by your perfectionism. And I share this picture of this adorable kid who actually looks a lot like my daughter when she was that age, just to reinforce the point that just show up consistently. It's okay if it's imperfect, because you know what? Imperfect is way better than invisible. Because if you want to grow your business, nutrition coaching people, or you have a great idea, but you're not showing up to talk about it, and you're not showing up to educate people on PCOS, no one's ever going to know. And I see so many people who have these great business ideas, who get so paralyzed in the thought that they have this amazing idea, they're so good at what they do, and they're telling, their family and friends how frustrating it is to grow their brand, but what are they actually doing to grow it? Are they actually putting themselves out there? And they're not, because they're a perfectionist. So you have to let go of that and just show up consistently with creating your content, because that will help you grow. Build a community, not just an audience, and meaning a community of people who trust you, who are part of your loyal community, who support you, not just people who are watching your content for purely entertainment. Because in the long run, those people aren't going to be with you in the long run. I could tell you, so as I mentioned, I've been a nutritionist for well over a decade now, and there's still people in my community who remember when I very first started out. Lots of people will say to me, oh my gosh, I remember you before you had your baby. Vienna, my daughter, turns 10 this year. They're like, I remember I was reading and making your recipes back then. So your email list, I'm sure you learn about this in school, in one of the business classes, but your email list is like gold. That is one of the most beneficial channels to grow your community. It's all about bringing them off, getting them off social media where it's so cluttered, and getting them onto your list, because then you're having a one-on-one conversation with them. So having an entrepreneurial mindset means resilience, imperfection, over perfection, learning to pivot. What worked in 2020 might not work for you in 2025. I've realized that over the years. That's why I've done so many different things, because, I realized, for example, I used to have a business program. I had a business program for nutrition students like yourself that I had for 5 years. And it just came to a point where I was like, okay, it's time to move on to something else. I feel like that ship has sailed. I've put a lot of energy and vitality into that. I feel like it's time to do something new. I need something new and fresh because it's not really working anymore. It feels like it's just so hard to promote it and get people interested and wanting to do it. So I feel like that was my sign to move on to the next thing. And you don't have to know everything. And I hear a lot of nutrition students tell me this. They're like, oh, like I have this niche or I have this idea, but when I'm working with clients, what if I don't know everything? And what if they ask me a question and I don't know? So what? You can just say I don't know. Or you can say, you know what? My favorite thing when I used to do one-on-ones. So when I graduated from IHN, I did one-on-ones with people, nutrition coaching from 2009 to the end of 2016. And I was a much better nutritionist in the back half of my career for sure, because I had learned so much more. I learned so much along the way just by working one-on-one. You learn so much from your clients. But on the early days, I learned very quickly that I didn't have to know everything. That was okay. And I would just tell people, you know what? I'm going to get back to you. I'll get back to you. And then I would go and research that. And then I would know. The other thing is when you have clients come along that you feel are very a complicated case, you can also ask your colleagues, ask your friends, hey, like maybe this person who's an expert in bowel cancer is a better fit for this client than I am. But I would say, you don't have to know everything, just take the next step. And you don't have to know everything about running a business either. But hopefully I give you a little, inspiration and empowerment after this. So overcoming imposter syndrome. Does anyone have that? You can raise your hand. I know a lot of people, everyone has it. Even after 15 plus years, sometimes I have it for sure. I was on this panel a couple months ago, like with all these other clean beauty entrepreneurs, and I was like so nervous. I'm like, why am I so nervous? But I was, on this panel with people who had so many more years experience than me. And I was having that imposter syndrome. And, I thought, okay, it's okay. You know what? The more I do this, the more I get into the weeds of the business, the more my confidence will grow. But let me just tell you, it's a mindset shift from who am I to do this to who am I not to do this? I'm going to be successful. So just get into the weeds. Confidence comes from doing. So how are we for time? Just gonna check. From idea to shelf, launching a product with purpose. So I'll use Hello Joyous as some examples here. So where do you begin when it comes to launching a product with a purpose? So identify a gap in the market that you care deeply about. And so, skincare, you may think, oh, really? There's definitely not a gap in skincare. But if we go deeply on that, we don't have time for it. But if I was to go deeper, I would explain what the gap was that I saw in the market. Validate your idea with your audience. So it's great to have a good idea, but it's really key to, and if you don't currently have an audience, that's okay. Validate your idea with someone else, with mentors. Talk to family, talk to friends, look for a mentor out there. Ask them what they think of your idea. Ask as many people as you can about your idea. You can do polls, put out samples of your product, get feedback, start small, and then test before scaling. This is really key. So I'm just going to share a quick example with you. So we launched in March Happy Hair Drops, which is a hair and scalp serum. So I identified a gap in the market that I care about deeply, which is holistic hair care. And I really feel that there is not enough truly clean hair serums on the market. There's so many that are full of so much junk, so overpriced, not certified organic, and not well-rounded to support both the strands of your hair and the scalp. So I'm like, okay, there is a gap for this. So validate your idea with your audience. I already have an audience. So what did we do? I polled the community. I asked people, would you rather a lip serum, a body wash, or a hair serum? Because these were all different things we were looking at. Pulled the community. The hair serum, which I already wanted to do, was the big winner. So we developed a prototype. Took us a year. We tested it. We sent it to 30 different totally random people in our community, and then to make sure that it was great. And then we launched it a year later. So we started small. We tested it before scaling, and then we launched with 600 units, which we've already sold out of. So that's just a little like case study for you on Hello Joyous. When you have a concept, kind of the steps to follow. Let me just go back there because I want to make sure if you are considering doing a product, these are the things. Identify a gap in the market that you care about, that you're passionate about. Validate your idea. Talk to lots of people. Also, I want to just the importance of talking to people who are not necessarily in your industry. Yes, talk to your friends and your family and your fellow students, but talk to someone who's like totally in a different industry. My husband does this all the time. My husband loves to talk to his stepfather, who's in a totally different industry, and we get so many good ideas from him. And then start small and test your idea out before scaling. So if it's not a product you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to create an online program, a digital product, you can test all these things. You can have a small group of maybe 7 or 8 people. Maybe it's just friends and family who you want to test out on this online detox program, this liver detox. You want to test it out before scaling bigger. So a little behind the scenes. I know I'm like talking about a lot of different topics here. I just wanted to cram as much as I could in, and then we can have some questions. But a little behind the scenes of Hello Joyous and just like developing a product. You know, it was important to me to obviously make everything locally. So like we make everything in the GTA. All of our ingredients are organic, so that's why we have the certified organic label. Packaging decisions are big decisions, very, very expensive. So many people don't think, and I've seen this with many product-based brands that have come up after Hello Joyous, think just about the product and then kind of forget about the packaging and don't realize how expensive it can be if you want to be sustainable. So like, picking and choosing your battles. Do you want to be certified organic and have clean packaging and this and this and this? If the answer is yes, then you need to take some time to really think about all the things that you want to do. So I was like, yes, we have to have clean packaging. That's why our products are packaged in glass. And it took a lot of time and it costs a lot more than using plastic, obviously. But for me, those are the things that felt really important. These are just some pictures of different trade shows that we've done over the years. So I'm getting towards the end here because I'm just looking, I have 6 minutes left. Some lessons learned over the years. Start really lean, which I'm sure you will be because you're starting just with yourself. And reinvest your early profits back into the business. That's really key. You know, when you do start to make some money, you don't want to go on a spending spree and traveling and buying expensive things. The best thing to do is reinvest that money back into your business. Don't try and do it all yourself. Partner with experts. So for example, if we use the hair serum as a case study example, I developed the formula myself just by doing all the research. What exactly did I want to put into it? Then I went to our lab and said, these are the ingredients that I want to put in. Can you please figure this out for me? Because I'm not a formulator expert. So that's why it's key. That's why I'm just talking about this, because working with experts who don't have the expertise you have, instead of trying to do it all yourself, and then you end up kind of doing it half, not as good. A really good investment sort of early on. The picture in the bottom right there is Jen. She is our full-time graphic designer. And that was an investment early on that I realized that if I wanted Joyous Health to be a very professional brand for people to have confidence in just seeing the brand, coming to the website, feeling a sense of comfort, and know that this is a professional brand, then everything needs to look professional. So, I mean, there's so many resources now that can help you achieve that. But that was one thing that I realized early on I wanted to spend money on. So that was one of the first things I spent money on, actually, was working with a graphic designer. And Jen has worked with us, I want to say 3 or 4 years now, but the person before that worked with me for 10 years. So, and of course, other lessons are mistakes are just part of the process. And then finally, sort of the highs and lows and the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. Know that growth is not linear. There's lots, of ups and downs, burnout is real. So self-care is absolutely a business strategy. But I feel like you already got that nailed because you're a nutritionist. And whenever I'm invited to speak with other entrepreneurs who are not in our nutrition bubble, I always feel like everyone is so burnt out. And people are always like, Joy, how do you always seem like you have it together? First of all, I don't always have it together. But I always tell people I practice what I preach. Like, I'm going home after this and I'm going to bed. I'm going to drink my herbal tea and I'm going to go to sleep. I'm not going out to party with everybody and have drinks. I mean, sure, once in a while doing that, but I actually never do that because self-care is a business strategy. But I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. And not every launch is going to be a hit. There's things that I've done that have not been a hit. And sometimes it's really disheartening because you put so much heart into something that you're creating and it ends up being a bit of a flop. The highs and lows of being an entrepreneur are cash flow, especially with a product-based business. That's a warning with an exclamation mark to everyone. Product-based businesses can be more challenging from a cash flow perspective than a service-based business because you have to make product you have to manufacture it, you have to buy packaging, you have to ship it, and there's a lot of costs that are associated with that. So tips for the long run is stay connected to your why, build a strong support system, and hang on, I just have to make this thing smaller because I can't see all of my notes here. These ladies here, you might recognize some of them. They're all very successful nutritionists and they are part of my support system. And I recommend that I know you're all doing this program online, but I recommend that you stay connected with these people who are in the same field as you so that you can share ideas. You can share your highs and your lows. And then with your friends and with your colleagues and and perhaps even people you work with when you start to grow your business, celebrate your successes. Celebrate your successes with these people. Celebrate the highs and talk to them about the lows, because I feel like a lot of people graduate as an entrepreneur, as a nutritionist, and feel like very isolated. And so I know that when I chatted with a lot of women, when I graduated, a lot of people were feeling the same way. And my final thoughts are that start before you're ready. Your voice matters. You don't have to do it all. Just do it with your heart. And I do have a couple more slides, but I'm just going to show you this because I'm going to run out of time. The 3 P's of success. So I'll just skip to this last slide here. Happy to connect with you off of here. You can find me at Joyous Health. That's my personal brand, joyoushealth.com. And at Hello Joyous _ is my beauty brand, which I talked a little bit about as well. And I encourage you, if you have any questions, just reach out. I'm so happy. I love talking to students and fellow entrepreneurs about the ups and downs. And I hope I haven't overwhelmed anyone with the information because I know I talked about a lot of things. So there we go.
Lots of comments on your presentation. Really, really fantastic presentation. Thank you for the helpful information. It was great. Thank you, Joy. And we have here, is it just you and your husband?
Yeah, so actually that was one of the things I went over too fast on the timeline I talked about. No, so there's 7 of us actually. I have a social media manager. We have someone who helps us with email marketing. We have a full-time graphic designer. We have a warehouse manager. We have someone who helps in customer service, and then my husband and I. So there's 7 of us. We're all remote, all women except my husband, which he loves.
Surrounded by women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and where do you make your products?
Yeah, everything's made in the GTA. So we have 2 contract manufacturers that we use, and everything is like super local. We try and use local ingredients when we can, but not every ingredient that we use in a product can be made in Canada. So we basically source where we can get the best quality of that ingredient, and always organic, which is why our products are certified organic.
Amazing. Yeah. And do you only sell your products online, or do you sell them at stores as well?
Yeah, so we sell our products online at hellojoyous.com, and we're in about 100 stores across Canada, mostly
Oh, wow.
Yeah, mostly in Ontario. So we're at Nature's Emporium, all of the Healthy Planet stores. Goodness me. We're really well stocked in stores in Ontario. So if anyone has any stores that they love and they don't live in Ontario, please let us know. Send me a DM because we're always, we're looking to grow. But I will also share with Julia a code for everyone who attended, a code that you can send out for a percentage off if anyone wants to buy any Hello Joyous products.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Joy.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
what group of people did you send your polls to for your business ideas?
For my business, okay, so sorry, when you were asking that, I was going straight to like when I did the hair products. I'll tell you what I did with that first. So I wanted to test out would people be interested in this in our hair serum. So I did polls just on social media. Then we did a type form, we created a type form survey. Wow, it's getting really bright all of a sudden. I'm facing a window. I just move over a bit. Then we created a survey that we put out to our community where we wanted to get people to test out our products. So we had people complete a survey. We had 300 people apply to test our new product. And then we basically chose the people based on varying degrees. Some people with like scalp psoriasis and dandruff, people with like really healthy hair, just random people. But you were asking me, was that the question, who is my mentors or how?
Uh, yeah, there was another one about the mentors. This one was what group of people did you send your polls to? And was this before or after you developed your client base, or did you just blast this out to groups in your community, colleagues, etc.?
I've done all of the above. So I always I always utilize social media. So you can create polls on social media using Instagram stories. Check out typeform.com. Typeform is a great tool to create surveys that you can send to people. And then just blasting it out, just talking to, I have a whole bunch of different, I'm in some different WhatsApp groups. I'm in one group with like 50 beauty entrepreneurs. I'm in another group with like 12 holistic nutritionists. So, I've created these groups. I personally haven't created these groups. I've joined these groups over the years. So I have, different people in different businesses that I can reach out to and ask questions, as well as just polling the community on social media.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Another question, do you have investors in your companies or do you use loans?
Yeah, we don't have any investors, but yeah, we have used loans.
Okay. And where is your community hangout?
Where's my community hangout? I don't know. They're all over the world. Um, I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, I should say like a lot of our customers and community, especially in Joyous Health, is very Canada based. I would say with like a target on Toronto, probably because I'm from Toronto, and when I do talks, obviously I'm speaking sort of in the Toronto area. But I would say my community, I have like people. I've had clients like in Australia when I was doing one-on-ones in Germany. I have customers who buy my products overseas as well. Obviously, shipping's a little more expensive, like $39 if you're shipping across the pond. But
Yeah,
yeah, all over.
amazing. Are you in any stores in Vancouver?
Not yet, but
Okay.
we're on the Sunshine Coast. I don't know how far that is from Vancouver, but if there's a store in Vancouver you really like, please reach out
Yeah.
and let me know.
Okay. Another question. How many followers do you find brands typically like to see for partnerships?
Well, there's different tiers of influencers now. Like a lot of brands are really attracted to micro influencers because micro influencers 7,000 to 10,000 typically have a very devoted community, and they have a lot of clout. Versus when you see someone with like 500,000 or a million, sure, they look like they have a lot of followers, but how many people are actually taking action on what they recommend? So, it really depends on the brand. But I'm definitely seeing a trend now for like brands really liking micro influencers because they have more influence.
Mm. Yeah, excellent point. And what is the best advice you have received as an entrepreneur, you personally?
I would say when I first started out, I used to find that people were always asking me for a discount on my services. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he said, I'm going to use my pen to point. He said, Joy, you never ever discount your worth. Do not discount your services for anyone because what you have to offer has a lot of value. So I would say that is the best advice that I've ever been given as an entrepreneur. I've
Yeah,
gotten lots of advice, but that's one that just stands out in my mind.
that's great. Great piece of advice from Pops. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
how difficult was it to get products across Canada, i.e. distribution, product regulations, etc.?
Um, okay, so getting it, we don't have a distributor as yet. So it is difficult as a small business because if you get into the nitty-gritty of how it works with a product-based business, having a distributor obviously helps you get to a lot more stores to get to, to the mom and pop health food store in Edmonton, for example. But the challenge is you have to build a lot of margin into your product because you have to give a percentage to the distributor. The retailer has to have a percentage. You still have to make money. So we're not with a distributor yet. As we grow and we can make more volume and we can bring our costs down, then we'll definitely be able to get there when we're talking about retailers. But we ship right across Canada. But I'm not sure if that question was more about like getting into retail with a distributor, or was the question about distributing your products
Distributing, yeah,
like to yeah, so
within Canada.
yeah, no problem whatsoever. Yeah,
Okay,
our
perfect.
products ship pretty quick. So
Do you have any tips for finding the right lab to work with?
any tips? Yes, because I've worked with some labs that I don't like. I would say like just, you know, in the industry, there's been people who have really helped me who have, one brand I can think of has been around for 25 years. They're a Canadian natural product brand, and the owner I established a friendship with early on, and I've just known over the years. So having that mentorship and having him available so I can ask him questions has been helpful. So, when I was starting out, and I just asked people I know. So I asked him, "Hey, do you have a good lab?" So asking people asking around, doing Google research,
Yeah,
putting it out on LinkedIn, and then just doing your research with each lab.
okay, excellent. Another question from Jennifer. I would love to know your advice on what platform to use for email building.
I'm probably not the expert on that because now we use Klaviyo, and I know Klaviyo is when you're getting to a certain size because it does get more expensive. But when I first started out, I used MailChimp because it was free. I don't even know if MailChimp exists anymore. Does it? Does anyone know?
I am pretty sure they still exist. Yeah.
Okay, so what I would say is when you're starting out, use an email platform that's free. And then as you grow, you will have to pay because your list will get bigger. But the nice thing is, like, we use Klaviyo, and there are so many benefits to using a platform like that. So, and obviously, and we use that because it's super helpful because our Hello Joyous website is built on Shopify. So like with the integrations and figuring out how many sales we make off of each email. And then we also, all of the Joyous Health emails live on Klaviyo as well. So we basically have two businesses where we send out emails from, and we use Klaviyo. But there are so many out there. I would just use whatever's free. And also a lot of these companies have free trials. So they may not be free in the long run, but like maybe they have like a 3 month free trial. We have done with so many different things. We like with project management software, so many apps that we've used, we always do trials first to see if we like it. Social media schedulers, I've tried, because I still do my own Joyous Health social. We just have someone who helps us with Hello Joyous now, but I've gone through the different gamut of all the different social media schedulers.
Amazing. Yeah, lots of thank yous here. Really helpful advice. Looking forward to your line.
Amazing.
We have another question here. How do you go about navigating through the legalities of the business, specifically with regards to developing physical beauty products?
The legalities, well, maybe I could ask that person, can you be more specific? What are you asking for? Are you asking about like trademarks of product names? Are you asking about organic certifications? So if you
Yeah,
can share
so
more information, or are you asking about if someone uses a product and they complain that they had a problem with it, like what are the legalities around that?
mm, yeah, and expiry dates, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so beauty products, so we don't have expiry dates, we have open dates. So like, for example, um, because our products are made in such fresh batches, we do small batch. So everything is always so fresh. So what we do is we print on the bottom, and because they're waterless, they don't have an expiry date. Like I don't tell people this, but this hair serum, if not opened, would probably be good 3 years from now. If you don't actually open it, because no oxygen gets in and it's in an opaque glass bottle. This one, there's nothing in it, but we just print from when you open it, it's 3 months, but it's actually longer than that. We always take a more conservative approach with all of our products, but in reality, they last a lot longer. But it's just better to be more conservative and careful with that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, and what about a rep in Alberta? Oh, Ingrid. So Ingrid, who won the first basket, was asking, what about a rep in Alberta? Meaning her.
Well, you know what? Get in touch. Send me an email. So reach out. You can email at hello@joyoushealth.com. Send an email and we can chat.
All
We don't
right.
have, we don't currently have any reps. Like my husband and I, we're the sales reps, we're the marketing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, but we're managing.
Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Dana. Dana is one of our alumni. So she's asking, who helped you with your first website out of school? Did you put it together yourself? Because you had a background in marketing. She does not have a background in marketing. Should she reach out to a professional in the field when first starting out?
Yes, I had a background in marketing, but I am not a very techie person. However, nowadays with Squarespace, WordPress, you can absolutely, without a marketing or a techie background, you can 100% build a website yourself. Where you may want to get help is from a designer to figure out like, what are your colors? What are your fonts? What's your look and feel? What does your logo look like? It might be worthwhile to invest in like a branding piece, like figuring out what your brand is, and then take all those elements and go do Squarespace or WordPress, because all of those are very, very doable for someone who doesn't know how to do it. So yeah, I did it all myself. And my husband Walker built HelloJoyous.com on Shopify. He did it all himself, and he's just figured it out along the way.
Same. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Would you consider a hair color product? So I guess an organic hair care
Um,
product, hair
it's
color.
not on my list of things. But you never know. You never know. I don't have it in the future. No one's ever asked me that, but you know what? It's funny because a lot of time, well, as I mentioned, the products come about because people keep asking me about it, and then I'm like, okay, I actually really want to do that. So, not in the near future, but thank you for the suggestion.
Amazing. And which store is it on the Sunshine Coast? Are you able to
Yeah, I think it's
remember?
I think it's Aura Market, but if you go to hellojoyous.com and you go to stockist and type in, if the person who's asking lives on the Sunshine Coast, type in your postal code, it'll pop up. I'm pretty sure it's called Aura Market though.
Okay.
Aura. I'm pretty sure that's the one on the Sunshine Coast. Or it could
Okay.
be Nurture Nutrition. It's one of those two.
Okay, this question, I think you alluded to this, but why not? Let's try it again, and you never know. What advice would you give for someone to follow their dreams versus working at another job to secure finances?
I would say, so there's a lot of people I know who go through the program and they might be doing a part-time and have a full-time job. And so, it is a big risk to quit your job and then go and build a business. So what I would always, you want to carefully assess the risk. And I think I think the best thing to do is not quit your job right away, but transition into your nutrition career. Do it sort of part-time, and as you build that up and make more money in your nutrition business, then you assess, okay, when am I ready to be able to do this on a more full-time basis? Hopefully that sort of answered that question.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect.
Keep following your dreams. Keep your dream there. I feel so many people give up too easy, too soon, give up too soon because they're like, I can't do this full time. I can't pay my bills. So what's the point? But don't give up, because if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, you can absolutely, create a thriving business out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. What types of problems arise, i.e., someone's trying to complain about your product or sue you?
Well, fortunately, no one's tried to sue. Oh, no, that's not true. There's been no personal person has tried to sue me. I have had other brands. There was this essential oil brand who claimed that they were using the name for their product before us, which they weren't. Basically, the short story is we used to have natural deodorants and we trademarked the name of our natural deodorant. This very big brand, I won't say who they are, but they're a very big essential oil brand, told us, nope, you can't use that name because we call our essential oil that name. And if you don't, we're going to sue you. So what ended up happening was we had to change all our packaging. So it has happened. We've never had a customer try and sue us, thank goodness, knock on wood. And what was the other question about customer complaints?
Yeah, either someone tries to complain about your product or, yeah, that would be a
Yeah,
complaint.
fortunately, okay, so we actually, our girl who does our customer service is an IHN grad as well. And she is amazing, amazing, amazing. And anyone who's ever, first of all, we barely have any complaints, but of course, once in a while you get someone who doesn't like something. And I feel like every time we have a customer complaint, we end up turning them into the biggest fan because we're able to, help them figure out what's going on. And yeah, so I mean that happens with skincare.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't had any over the years. I can't even think of anyone who's been like seriously disgruntled or anything. I feel like we always manage to, with our joyous personalities, manage to make people feel happy and feel that they had good customer service. I think that's so important, having good customer service when you're a products-based business or any business.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make such a great point, Joy, that you learn from all of it. So if there is a
Yeah.
complaint or
Yes.
if someone's trying to attempt to sue you, the famous quote, if you haven't been sued, you're not really in business yet. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
that's true. That's very true. Yep.
always a way to learn from it all for sure. And
Sure.
what is the biggest challenge to scaling?
Money, having lots of money. So the more we, get it out there that we have these wonderful products that can really help you have healthy skin, the more we can grow. So it's just having the money to scale up to be able to purchase at the volumes we want to. And it's a challenge that every product-based business has, and we'll get there. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Joy. Thank you to everyone for coming today and spending this time with us and asking some amazing questions. Joy, that was a fantastic presentation. We thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. We learned so much, and so beautiful to see your evolution. And we actually love the slides on the different years and everything that you've done throughout
Okay,
the
good.
years.
I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna take the full 45
Oh,
minutes.
no way, that was
Okay,
really nice.
good.
Some
Okay,
great
good.
comments on that, and it really gives, the just persistence and
Yeah,
perseverance, right? Every year
yes.
it's going to evolve and grow, and it's been an absolute joy.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.